ahead.
Thanks, Jen. Republicans are circulating a modified version of the CBO score for Build Back Better. In their version, it included extensions of programs without being paid for, which we understand is not how the president put forward this legislation. But the reason that they're saying they did that is because Lindsey Graham says if you believe these programs are going to go away after 1 or 2 years, you shouldn't have a driver's license. We all know child tax credits are not going to go away after a year. What does the White House say to that?
Well, to quote of all people Norm Ornstein at the American Enterprise Institute, who put this quite well, quote, "You can't assume programs will be extended just because Lindsey Graham wants to assure that. An estimate based on what's not in the bill is bogus and fundamentally dishonest." I mean, this is not a CBO score. This is a fake CBO score. It's not about the existing bill anybody is debating or voting on. This is about proposing the extension of programs that has not been agreed to without the commitment of the president, which he's made repeatedly publicly, that he would never support extending these programs if they weren't paid for, period. That has been his commitment. That is his commitment. I would also note that there's a particular irony here that it shouldn't be lost on Senator Graham. Maybe it is lost on Senator Graham. I don't know. That the plan they proposed and passed into law, the 2017 tax cuts, were $2 trillion, which were not paid for in any way, shape, or form. That didn't seem to upset them at all. And I will say, and they can thank us in any way they would like for this, that what our projections and the projections of our economists predict is that for our plan, if as this plan continues in the second decade, it would actually reduce the deficit by $2 trillion. So we're actually covering their irresponsible tax cuts to corporations and net wealth individuals. They're very welcome for that.
Thank you. And then on crime, the National Sheriff's Association alleged that they haven't seen the kinds of federal support to crack down on crime that we talked about here in the briefing room earlier this week. I already have lengthy statements from the White House and the DOJ detailing and countering some of the points that they made. But more broadly, if the feeling among communities and law enforcement groups is that things are getting worse and not better, and that they're not visibly enough seeing results from what the White House is doing, how can the White House project a stronger image that they're tough on crime and crack down on this?
Well, Jackie, I would first say that we recognize, and let me just reiterate, that we agree that violent crime is a serious problem. We have concerns about what we've seen, serious concerns about retail theft in a range of communities across the country. And I know you are aware of this, but we have actually taken some what we would consider serious steps to help work with these communities, whether it's plussing up police forces in San Francisco and LA, or having the FBI work directly with the LA Police Department to address areas where we have seen an increase in retail theft. I would also note that what the president has proposed, and obviously we're on the CR short-term budget right now, is an increase in a plus-up in funding for the COPS program of almost $300 billion more than what was proposed by the former president, because he believes that police departments and law enforcement should be properly funded and supported. That is something he's been a believer in his entire career. So I would say we are committed to, but we have proposed additional funding. We are working directly now, and obviously this work is ongoing.
And one real quick one on the Jussie Smollett verdict. Both the president and vice president tweeted at the time of that attack. The president tweeted, "What happened to Jussie Smollett must never be tolerated in this country. We're with you, Jussie." The vice president called it an attempted modern-day lynching. Since the guilty verdict, are there any lessons learned here on rushing to judgment when a crime is alleged?
I think there are lessons learned perhaps for everybody who commented at the time, including former President Trump. I wish April Ryan was here because I think she asked him the question. Do I see her somewhere or no? Okay. She just left, where he said, "I can tell you that it's horrible. It's doesn't get worse," in response to her question about about Jussie Smollett at the time. I would say that we respect the jury's decision. Lying to the police, particularly about something as heinous as a hate crime, is shameful. Instances of that need to be investigated fully, and those found guilty need to be punished. And false accusations divert valuable police resources away from important investigations. They make it harder for real victims to come forward and be believed. You know, if you look back at the time, it's also true and important to note that accusations of hate crime should be taken seriously, and they need to be fully investigated. But that's what where everybody was looking at it at the time, but certainly knowing what we know now, it's important to also note the danger of lying to police and lying about hate crimes and the fact that it diverts important resources. Go ahead, Kristen.
Thank you, Joe.